Good evening and welcome to this session of Excellence 002. Those of you who are returning, welcome back. And those of you who are here for the first time, a special welcome to you. So I hope we will see you again for the remainder of this program. Today we have an eminent speaker, somebody who really knows what quality is about, and who has helped the movement in the UK and overseas. I will introduce Roger in a bit after doing a brief introduction on the subject. And Roger will take you through a story, and he will tell you from a first-hand experience about the excellence, if you like, in performance and excellence in delivery using quality principles based on the excellence model. So that would be Roger's story. What I would like to do as a kickoff is really talk about the meaning of performance measurement in a context which is a non-financial context, but also in an integrated way, what performance means to different stakeholders and how it should be managed in the modern business context. So the title of the session is Effective Competition. That's why measurement is important. Just a few statements about the importance of measurement. First of all, everybody in life needs to be interested in measurement, because measurements are the yardsticks that will tell everybody how well we've done. So they are a tool of measurement, but a tool of motivation. And this is the way we should encourage people to perform. Measurement is essentially really the guiding torch for any organization wanting to climb better heights and achieve superior standards. And as the quote says there, without measurement, it's like shooting ducks at midnight without a moon. You hear a lot of squawking and a lot of noise, but you don't know whether you're doing right or wrong. So we need measurement to guide performance. We need measurement to assess our effectiveness as an organization. The other thing is about control, isn't it? Measurement is feeling that we are in control, feeling that we are guiding, we are steering, we are directing, and we are achieving. Things that you can devise indicators for are things that you are managing, and things that you cannot devise indicators for are things that slip between our fingers. We are not in control of them. And the good work environment very often is a work environment which is well managed, well measured. In fact, I always say to people that in life there are 5 rules of management, and just like to remember them, because we have 5 fingers on our hands. The first one is understanding what a work environment is. So understanding through process mapping, through flow charting, for example, what the activity is or the task is. The second rule of management is improving what we understand, improving the work environment. The third rule is measuring the improvement, because without measurement there is no improvement. We know that we are improving because we measure. Without measurement, we're not in a position to say we're improving. The fourth rule of management is control the measurement. That's how you control a work environment, because the measurement gives you that standard of work, gives you that consistency, and therefore gives you a sense of predictability. You can predict what you're going to achieve, because you have a culture of measurement and measuring again and again, and you have that consistency and that standard. And the fifth rule of management is management itself. Management is about control. And as I said earlier on, without control there is no management. I think the last statement is also correct, because we want to break out of routine. Routinization is really a disease in a work environment, particularly now. We're expected to work faster, we're expected to work smarter, and we're expected to innovate. So measurement is a trigger of innovation, because you can see the art of the possible, you can see the deficiencies in performance, and you can look at, if you like, the what-if scenario, what the new practices and the new initiatives. And you will always find that a culture that really believes strongly in measurement is a culture of an organization which is highly innovative. I mean, that would be a good theme to do research on. What is the correlation between a culture of measurement and innovation per se? So I think it is vital for us to appreciate why measurement is important and why all of you should be here tonight. The other thing I want to share with you tonight is really the outcomes of a major survey which involved more than 1,200 executives, I believe. That was done a while back. I think it was 96 or 97. And essentially the question was to establish the behavior of these executives towards a culture of measurement and to identify precisely their understanding, but also what they value most. One of the questions that was asked was what they value most in terms of information. So all the blue peaks there are saying that what the senior executives appreciate in terms of importance of measurement. And the yellow peaks are saying whether they are confident enough to say that the quality of the information in relation to those discrete areas is good enough. For example, they're all saying that data and information on customer satisfaction is absolutely vital to their businesses. 85% of them saying it's important. They're also saying financial performance is very important, and 82% of them are saying that. Less so, to my surprise, on the other areas of measurement, like measuring innovation and change or measuring employee performance. They don't value that pursuing, if you like, the measurement of employee motivation and satisfaction is as important as customer satisfaction. The interesting thing is, what they believe in is one thing, but what they are confident in is another thing. The yellow peaks are demonstrating that these companies, at least, are not very sophisticated at managing the quality of information in relation to those areas. So it tells the whole story, doesn't it? They are more confident, for example, at managing performance data, which is financially oriented, as opposed to managing information related to customer satisfaction. What does this tell us? It tells us several things. The number one thing is that the pervasiveness of measurement is not there. We still have traditionalism in terms of how we assess performance measurement. We still look at the financials, if you like, in a very narrow-minded fashion. We haven't broadened cultures of measurement wide enough to encompass customers, to encompass employees, and to encompass innovation and change. The second message that's coming out from this chart also is the fact that we lack the knowledge and the sophistication to measure broadly, to measure and touch and feel the other areas, the non-financial areas. And I think that despite the fact that this survey was done in 1996, I think the message is still valid even now. I think it's because measurement in a non-financial context requires a different behavior, different attitude, a different motivation behind it, because it's measuring perceptions, more or less. If you measure customer satisfaction, it's not you who decides whether the customer is happy or unhappy, or whether the customer is satisfied or not. It's the customer who, you know, because they vote with their money and they vote with their loyalty and commitment to you, who will be asked to hold the mirror and tell you what they think about you. And that's, if you like, a departure, a major departure from the financial accounting kind of behavior, which is about internal control rather than external evaluation. And the same thing with employees' motivation and satisfaction. It is the commitment of an organization to ask its employees to say, do you feel happy? Do you feel motivated? Do you feel that this is a good organization to work for, etc., etc.? A lot of organizations are very hesitant to engage with employees from that point of view because they don't like to hear the bad news. But of course, the bad news is not wanting to hear the voice of the employee, but worst of all is not trying to engage to show that commitment to the employees, that you consider them as key stakeholders and they are the key asset. So loads of reasons for that. But I mean, one of the reasons that I wanted to share with you here is the design of measurement itself. You know, measurement does not require a genius, basically, to design. But the problem is if you look at very complex phenomenon within a work environment, and you try to put complex measures, you're bound to find difficulties. And I think a lot of organizations suffer from this. All very tiny, very small, very discrete, very unique areas as well. Hard to track, hard to measure. I mean, I remember I did some work years ago, Roger, with NatWest Bank, and they wanted to design a measure for morale. I don't know whether you have, you've got something that tracks morale. And they had people designing, if you like, big spreadsheets on Excel and putting macros and whether it's okay at 10:09 and has it changed a little bit at 10:30. Oh, the lunch was okay today. That's why it's, you know, it's rocketed to the, you know, and so what I want to say by this is that the ultimate goal is the effectiveness, not the quality of the measure. So measurement is means to an end. What we measure is quality. What we measure is effectiveness. We want to receive that message about how well we're doing, rather than how sophisticated the measurement is. And we want really to put it in the right order. The human person controls the measurement. We shouldn't do it the other way around, that measurement is designed to control people. That would be an absolute tragedy to do it that way. So measurement does not control behavior or does not track behavior. On the contrary, I think behavior guides the measurement. A positive behavior will always makes good use of measurement, provides the information that people require, and acts upon the measurement to correct, to rectify, to optimize, to improve, and so on. I mean, I remember years ago we designed a system for Elida Fabergé, which is a kind of an incentive scheme to improve performance. And they used one indicator, which is delivery completeness, order completeness. And basically, it worked like this. The standard, the baseline standard was 90% delivery, completeness, correctness, etc., etc. Any percentage above that, 2% extra, are equivalent to 1 extra pay day for everybody within the company. There were a maximum of 5 extra pay days for everybody if it reaches 100, okay? So 2% is 1 day. And guess what happens? It works, but around Christmas time, it's 98%, because everybody needs the money. Everybody wants the extra 4 days pay. January is the worst record, because the delivery notes, which are non-favorable, are kept under the carpet around Christmas, or don't log them in the system yet, because we don't want our pay to be docked. And they save them until January, but they put all the wonderful order completed before Christmas. So I'm trying to say to you that behavior tracks the performance, and positive behavior can induce a positive measurement, not the other way around. So people can misuse and abuse measurement. So the task to do for senior managers, therefore, is to educate people, to get them to appreciate the value of measurement, to them, not to others. Otherwise, I think garbage in is garbage out, and that's what we'll continue to receive. Because I think measurement is also threatening if we don't do it in the right way. The last thing I wanted to say about this is that traditional measures, if you like, don't suit a modern work environment, as simple as that. And I think this is acknowledged by a lot of people, and I will say a little bit more about this in a minute. We need to look at measurement as means to an end. And as you can see from this chart here, there's 2 different types of measurement. Some people will call the right-hand side lagging measures and the left-hand side leading measures. Some people will say these are physical outputs and these are in-process measures. But what the measurement is doing all the time, you see, they are touching and feeling performance. On the left-hand side, you've got what we call process-based measurement. And I believe that this is the most important measurement aspect. Everybody measures their performance. All of us here are process owners, so we need to be associated with process-based measures. There are measures that we can control. There are measures that will tell us immediately what the performance is. There are measures that basically track continuously, consistently the work environment itself. There are measures that impact on the delivery of the results-based measures, because the results-based measures are lagging measures. They are numbers, they are retrospective, they are aggregated, and they are more relevant to managers because they tell the story about what has been happening in the past, yeah? Not what is going on now. What is going on now is in the hands of the process owners, and that's process measures. They're used basically for planning, for strategy, for resources, but they're not used for quality. Left-hand side are the quality measures. They are the ones that can control cost, speed, delivery, reliability, consistency, effectiveness, etc., etc. We manage that well, and guess what? The results measures will look after themselves. There is a knock-on effect. You know, if you measure the dials and monitor the dials, the performance of the whole aircraft will be okay, because you can predict what's going to happen here. Traditionally, however, we tended not to place emphasis on the left-hand side measures. Measurement tended to be in the hands of accountants, in the hands of people who have nothing to do with the activity of assisting the customer, delivering quality to the customer, and the decisions were made very remotely about what is good, what is bad, what should the organization commit to, and so on and so on. So you can see that previously we have been doing things wrong. God knows how we have survived all these years and how effective and successful organizations have been. I think this is not just me having a go. This is recognized by the best gurus in the management accounting profession themselves. And this is a quote from Professor Kaplan, who is a management accountant by profession, who is saying that, and he was referring to management accounting, he's saying existing systems for cost and performance measurement provided very little motivation to supporting companies that are trying to pioneer and implement new concepts like quality management just in time, design for manufacture, and flexible manufacturing, and so on, which are concepts to do with continuous improvement and ongoing optimization. And he's saying that these old concepts, management accounting concepts, tended to hinder rather than facilitate the improvement. Now, that was 1990. Management accounting profession recognized, aha, there's something going wrong here. The new work environment, it talks about speed, talks about quality, talks about cost improvement, and it doesn't talk about direct versus indirect, machine efficiency. You know, what's the point having machines running 24 hours, churning out products that you can't sell to the customer? And it's all about cost and cost and cost, filling warehouses and so on. So the new work environment is about smartness, it's about it's like speed of delivery, it's about customer loyalty, service excellence, you know, employee motivation and satisfaction. Why should we obsess, for example, with measuring employee motivation and satisfaction? Because there is a certain logic that we ought to understand. And the logic is, when people are happy, when people are motivated, they perform well, don't they? And if they perform well, they produce quality. And if they produce quality, the customer is happy. And by the way, if the customer is happy, then he is going to buy more from us, he's going to commit to us, and he's going to be loyal. And guess what? If the customer is happy, our financial performance is well looked after. That is the logic. So we start with where it matters most, and we need to therefore focus on areas like employee motivation and satisfaction. So I think we have to appreciate that what we're preaching to you today is really something very important, because management accounting, for all the goodness that it has done for all these years, is based on very old, dilapidated concepts. I mean, return on investment, for example, was invented in 1919 by DuPont, and it was for a particular reason. It was a long-term measure, not a short-term measure. But over the years, you see, there have been the profession have been misusing old measures in order to adapt to a new work environment. And the other thing, as I said, cost accounting data is produced retrospectively. You see, it's 6 months historically based, it's 9 months a year, and so on. And the worst part of it is that managements make decisions on old data, which tells us about what has happened, not what is going on now. So we cannot correct. If we have made a mess in delivering quality to the customer, it has happened. We have got the consequences in our hands. So all of these wrongs basically have alerted people to start to look at different ways and means of measurement. And the other thing, as I said, is the remoteness. Those who collect the data, those who make the decisions, are not necessarily those who interface with the customer, those who touch and feel the product and the service that is handed over to the customer, those who appreciate basically what the complaint is about, because logging in complaints is one of the critical measurements that we should encourage every organization to adopt. Because guess what? If you measure complaints, and if you do something about them, you have generated the best, most motivated, most loyal customers in the world. Because satisfaction and dissatisfaction are the same thing. They are synonymous. You can turn a dissatisfaction into a great satisfaction, but you can switch and upset satisfied customers if you ignore their complaints. So all of these logical things need to be brought to the attention of senior managers. And the other thing not to ignore, of course, is that the new work environment is based on high tech, is based on IT, and is based on effectiveness rather than just efficiency per se. So cost matters, because if you manage cost internally, you can transfer it as value to the customer, but you cannot commit to the customer things that you haven't got inside, because that will be a recipe for disaster, and it will be the start of a bankruptcy road. Here's a nice model that I would very much like to recommend to you today. This is a model of an organization that really appreciates that measurement is the lifeblood. It flows throughout the organization, and it drives the performance of the organization in an integrated way. If we start from the left-hand side, every organization has to have a sense of direction. It has to have levels of ambitions. It has to determine where it wants to go, what it wants to achieve. That is a must. You can't measure if you're not making the mileage. If the plane is on the ground, the pilot is not looking at the dials because the dials are not working. If they're working, he should worry because the plane is on the ground. So we start to look at the dials only when we start to deliver the mileage. The mileage is where am I going, where am I heading towards, and what journey would I like to make. So that's an essentiality. How do I measure the vision or the level of ambitions? I set some goals and targets. I allocate budgets and resources. I cascade down, if you like, those goals through specific business plans or project plans. And I will involve everybody in the organization by having broad objectives, team objectives, all the way to individual objectives. We are all driven by the same goals. We all have the same aspirations. We all are made to count. So, if you like, if that doesn't happen properly, then never mind what you do afterwards. It doesn't count. It's suboptimizing the organization. Again, going to my analogy about planes, if you don't really get the full thrust of the aeroplane, and get all the engines fired up at the same time, you're not going to get the mileage that you want to get. Yes, of course, you can play an aeroplane, hopefully today, with one engine. But what is the point when you've got 4 at your disposal? So by involving everybody within the organization at all levels, we are making sure that the thrust, the drive, and the involvement and the alignment is all there. Halfway, we start to look at the dials. And that picture there is saying that performance measurement, you can see 4 boxes there, is saying we have to touch and feel what's going on to the organization internally and externally. In other words, one box is maybe for the financials, one box is for the customer, one box is for the employees and the culture of learning and so on, and one box is about the processes, the activities, the quality, the costs and so on. But look at those two brown boxes at the bottom. We need fuel. That's the fuel. The fuel is to induce that culture of generating information, transferring it to the right person in the right place, at the right format, and so on. But also generating external information. Roger, I'm sure, will concur with this view. Many organizations fail in getting the best out of what they have because they are too introverted. They are too focused on what I call effectiveness rather than competitiveness, including our own institution here, and I can speak openly. We don't have rich benchmarking data, for example. We don't know what's going on in other institutions. We don't have those metrics, the rich sources of data that will tell us the true gap in our performance. So we like very often to reinvent the wheel. We like to start with a blank sheet of paper. What a waste. But if we generate a source of information flow which is internal, supported by another source which tells us about what's happening outside in the real world, we have the best resources for making good decisions. Now I'm coming to the end of the story. Appraisal. What do we appraise people on? Not because they're good at clocking in and clocking out, or they come half an hour before anybody else, or they stay an extra hour when everybody else has gone. That's nice. But is that what you want? Do you want people who are robots? They come and sit and read the newspaper, and you give them an A at the end saying, wonderful performance, you've been great, so here's 2 grades, for your pay next year. Is that what we want? Of course not. People like to be valued. They like to be appraised on their contribution. They like the appraisal to talk about their contribution, the performance that they have made to their organizations. And they like the reward to be given on really what they have achieved. So I think the appraisal has ultimately got to be linked to performance at all levels. The board, the senior management team, all the way to the individuals. And that's how really we should drive any organization, by having these templates and having this model. So the scorecard, if you like, and Roger may or may not want to talk about this, is saying that we need to broaden the performance measurement by making sure it's integrated, by making sure that we capture the customer, we capture the employee, we capture the activity and the process, but also, of course, we capture our own performance, which tends to be financial in most cases. But the heart of doing that measurement is driven by vision and strategy. You can see there the examples, and I'm not going to bother too much with this. What do you measure in a financial box? Of course, you measure profitability, return on capital, return on investment, turnover and stuff like that. The customer satisfaction index maybe, but measures of time, speed means value to the customer, quality is what the customer pays for, service is what builds relationships with the customer. We measure the process, the way we do work. Speed is important again. Productivity means we add value. It doesn't mean efficiency, it means we add value. And cost. We ought to be aware of cost, because cost is a tumor. If we learn to reduce costs all the time and optimize our performance, we can give more to the customer on the other end. And the bottom right-hand side is a very, very important box, because that's the soft, the hard side. How do you measure the innovativeness that takes place in an organization? How do you measure the real contribution, the creative contribution that people make? How can you control it and get the best out of it? The impact of training and development, because if we believe that people are the key asset, therefore we have to monitor how we're getting mileage out of that asset. And the other thing is, if we believe that this asset accumulates and grows rather than depreciates, we have to continuously look at the bank of knowledge that we have and assess intellectual capital. So, just to bring it all together now, I would say to understand the message from myself tonight, I'll give you a quick whistle tour of this. If you just believe that this template can be superimposed any organization, be it a university, a hospital, a bank, or whatever, there is what I call an internal, external perspective, first of all. If you can draw the line, if you like, this way, from where the product and service quality is, where the organizational benefits are, and call this internal, and leave the top two right-hand side boxes as an external perspective, then I can start the whistle tour. I said at the beginning, measurements start with a sense of direction, a destination, a mission, a vision, and a level of ambitions. And that's what a leadership box is. You know, the top management team have got to really put that in place. The next thing is measurement has got to be enabled by having the right systems in place to enable people to perform, the right climate for continuous improvement. It has to be facilitated, so you have to create that. That's why the arrow is going up, because if you have quality system, you need to be enabling. The climate has got to, if you like, encourage people to be involved. The more you do there, the more outcomes, performance outcomes you're going to get in the right way. The first thing we have to measure internally for our efficiency and effectiveness are all of those things here. Organizational benefits, you know, reducing cost, reducing speed of how we do things, reducing employee turnover, because an organization that is bleeding to death is not an organization that is going to be competitive. So we need to make sure we don't lose the right people, particularly the right people. Some people we don't mind losing, but losing the right people is not a good thing. So by making sure you don't lose your people, and if they are unhappy, we're not doing a good job. We need to keep them, but also we need to motivate them. So the motivation thing has got to be tracked on time. And we need to create, if you like, a good work environment, health and safety, and so on. And then, of course, we measure productivity. These are measures, dials that concern us. They tell us about how well we are doing internally. Now we have to ask the question, what are we doing for the customer? And you go to the top left-hand box. What do we give the customer? We give products and services. So the arrow is going up. It means that we have to continuously innovate to replenish the demands of our customers by giving them novel, innovative services and products. How are we going to do this? We have to be a reliable supplier. So reliability arrow is going up. We have to deliver on time, complete, as we promised to the customer. The arrow is going up. And we have to reduce errors and defects, because that will displease the customer. All of the things I've said so far are in internal control. We control them, we generate them, we monitor them ourselves. Now is the moment of truth. We've done everything right as an organization, and the top right-hand side corner is going to the customer and saying, Mr. Customer, now, what do you think of us? So customer satisfaction, by definition, is an independent judgment by the customer on us. So we are assessing, therefore, on the whole, a perception. So as we do well in the other areas, the customer is going to say, I'm very happy with you and I would like to continue to do business with you. So customer satisfaction goes up. And if the customer is happy, he stays with you. Customer retention goes up. And if the customer stays with you and you're managing the complaints because you reduce them all the time, then you are in the very lagging box which says our own business results or competitiveness, market share, profit, and everything else.